We're breaking down this series. Again, predictions, coaching matchup. What's your final prediction? How are you feeling about the series right now? 888-957-9570. Let's go to Shane, Oakland, Shasky. Shane, Oakland, good morning. What's happening?
What's up?
What's up, Shay?
I just want to talk about the coaching matchup, man, because it's a lot of people that believe, Mike Brown, he got the game plan and all this. I just don't see it. Mike Brown, before he came to Golden State, Mike Brown was, he coached LeBron, Kobe.
Right.
He's selling our bench for 6 years, right?
Yep.
Well, how many teams were taking for Mike Brown?
Well, you know what? I'll say this, Shay, and I'll let you finish. Mike Brown had some opportunities to at least do some interviews. He decided to kick back. He wanted to stay here and go to state in the Bay Area and work on his craft. He was happy with being an assistant coach. Instead of jumping from job to job to job to job to job, he waited on his time, and I respect that.
All right, now, when Mike Brown was head coaching, was he known for in-game adjustments?
But you grow as a coach.
Right?
He was known for defense, actually, which is funny. And now his team is an offensive juggernaut. But look, coaches evolve. Coaches learn. He's evolved.
And he is the coach of the year.
Yeah, you got to give him his respect, Shay.
Like the same way that Mark Jackson, and I'm not comparing him to Mark Jackson, but I'm saying like the same way that Mark Jackson uplifted the Warriors from a team that refused to play any defense to not only playing great defense, but then empowering the Splash Brothers to be best versions of themselves. You have to give Mike Brown the credit for empowering Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox to better, and I would say to this point, best versions of themselves. There's probably other levels that they feel that they can go to. I mean, what he did with Keegan Murray this year alone is special.
He turns Fox into an all-star. Look at Sabonis. And look, and Draymond Green mentioned this after practice yesterday.
Yeah.
His voice is what they missed the most about Mike Brown.
I think
it's not the X's and O's. It's not the whiteboard, but he goes his voice.
Take it to a work setting, in any work setting that you're in. There are certain people that have that infectious joy. Right? Like, I know Goo, people love him, on the air, and some people maybe aren't, that isn't his cup of tea. But when I see Guru every morning, I smile. He's got this vibe about him. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
A certain vibe. Mike Brown has that kind of a vibe. Just a positive vibe. When I see Mike Brown, I smile.
Yep. Nah, he's a good dude. Getting to know him over the years, he's a real one, man. Any interview, any moment, before games, after games, always laughing, always having a good time. Used to take his Harley up to the Raiders training camp. Mike Brown's that dude. He's a good dude. But Draymond Green mentioned his voice. And he said, number one, his voice, especially when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. He's super intense. And Draymond Green would gravitate towards him. When Draymond Green would go crazy, Mike Brown usually would be the coach to calm him down. Mike Brown was that guy. So, what he's done for Sacramento, for that community, he's so good. I'm so happy for him. Part of me now wishes that today didn't have to go against the Kings, that you could just avoid it. But Mike Brown does know his team inside and out, so that's going to be an interesting chess match between Steve Kerr and Mike Brown in this series. Let's go to Antonio in Oakland. Antonio, what's happening? You're on the roast. Good morning, Antonio.
Yeah, man, it's going to be Warriors in 6, and, Wiggins is coming back. He's going to be a little rusty, and I'm just happy, the Kings don't really have, like Kawhi, Jason Tatum, one of those elite two-guard small forward guys. I mean, Keegan Murray's pretty good. Harrison Barnes is cool, but, they're not, pretty all-star guys. But anyway, man, I think Curry and then Clay, Poole, we got so much backcourt depth to go at De'Aaron Fox, and that's going to be the big issue right there for the Kings, man. And there's a lot of Warrior fans there, and, they're not ready yet, and we are. And we're going to go back-to-back.
Hey, Antonio, good call. Warriors at 6. Antonio has it. Warriors at 6. I wonder if anybody from Dub Nation is truly concerned about the series. Because I will say this. Kitty's been big on this. We'll talk to Kitty Caraway about it. He goes, why can't it be the Kings? Why can't we surge into the playoffs like the Phoenix Suns did a couple years ago? You've had examples of teams in the past that have come out of nowhere and made a run. Hell, I would say the 2014-15 Warriors. They lost in the first round the previous year to the LA Clippers. They hire Steve Kerr. Harrison Barnes goes back into the starting lineup. Next thing you know, they win 67 games in the championship for the first time in 40 years. Why not Sacramento? That's what they're saying up there. And you look at their schedule here. I look at teams when they come out of the All-Star break, Shasky. How hot can you be? How serious are you when you come out of the All-Star break? And I remember they made their run. They beat the Blazers. They won that crazy double overtime game down in L.A. against the Clippers. And everybody was lighting the beam, and they were going crazy. That felt like their Warriors versus Miami game when Draymond Green hit the game-winning layup in the Jared Jack interview that you always reference.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like their game.
No, don't bring that up.
Right.
That's the
JP. Yeah. But they came out of the break. They beat the Clippers again. They sweep OKC and OKC. They bounced back from a T-Wolves loss to beat up on the Pelicans. They beat the Knicks at home. They beat the Suns in Phoenix. I mean, they had a great run coming out of the All-Star break to say, hey, we're not fading away. We're going to be in this top 3. So they do get credit for that, Shasky.
Of course they do. And, why not them? I mean, it's a great question to ask. Why not the Kings? I would say this, that the history of the league tells you that you've got to get humbled in the playoffs at least one time before you make that big ascension forward. Atlanta is a team that I thought of a couple of years ago. They won early in the Trae Young maturation process,
right,
if you will, and they got really, really far. But then they took a huge step back year after year after year. But even that one, things fell their way for them to go that long.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that can't happen for the Kings here. You referenced the Warriors in 2014, 2015. They had been to the playoffs in back-to-back years.
Right.
They had knocked off the Nuggets. Then they went out and they faced the San Antonio Spurs, and they played them super hard.
Tough.
I would say it was a way closer series than it looked.
It was a hell of a 6-game series.
Should have won game one.
It was a hell of a 6-game series.
And then the very next year, obviously, you bow out in the first round against the Clippers.
In 7.
But there's levels to it. And you hear whether it's Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, all the truly greats talk about very few times do you just go into the playoffs for your first time and have immediate success.
Right.
There's usually a stubbing
rare.
of the toe. There's usually a humbling. There's usually something. Now, Sabonis has been to the playoffs. Harrison Barnes has obviously been to the playoffs. Kevin Huerter's been to the playoffs. So it's not their entire team.
No.
But when I look at someone like De'Aaron Fox, I do think, and Keegan Murray as well, I do think, okay, yeah, great year this year. Most people, let's see it in the playoffs. We said this about Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew Wiggins was, a guy who had a little taste of the playoffs. Small taste, but a little taste.
No, he only played in one round when the T-Wolves lost to the Houston Rockets, and they lost in 5. He played probably his best basketball in Minnesota that season. But last year, I remember talking to media members on the way to the season. I'm not going to name names.
Well, Nick would say to me, Joe, I got to see Wiggins do it in the playoffs.
It wasn't just Nick Friedel, though. It was many more, including Bay Area reporters that said, do you really trust Andrew Wiggins in the postseason? That they were telling me. And I was saying to myself, dude, Wiggins is going to be fine. And what did he do in the playoffs? He raised his game to another level. And he may have become more beloved than Kevin Durant around these parts. That's how well Andrew Wiggins played.
Which is a wild sentence to say out loud.
He played that well, dude.
I do think there are a lot of people that hold Wiggins in higher regard than even Kevin Durant.
Absolutely.
And
it's insane.
It is.
It's insane.
It is.
But Andrew Wiggins was a hell of a player in the postseason, and he shut up all the haters. He validated why he was a number 1 overall pick. He validated why the Warriors traded away D'Lo for him and as well in that top 7 pick, which became Jonathan Kuminga.
B, we've talked a lot about the Warriors' road record, which is fair. I mean, it is what it is. Those are facts. If they win one of these games on the road to start off the series, all that goes away.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing goes away. You just got to win one. Just got to win one.
I was thinking about this, though, with the road record. They were 11-30, right, on the road. And they had road trips where they went 0-5.
Well, they had about 6 games that I could point to early in the season where they just smoked those games.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You even look at the Denver game recently without Jokic. They smoked that game. They played well for 2 quarters and still had, I think it was a 5-point halftime lead maybe, or a 2-point halftime lead. And they had no business being a 2-point game. You look at all those losses early on in Charlotte, Orlando, Miami. Who else? The New York Knicks. Actually, they got blown out in that game. They lost a tough one to the Pelicans. I'm just looking at the schedule here, just kind of recalling the Mavericks game back on November 29th, 116 and 113. They've lost a lot of close road games, a lot of them. Indiana, remember that game? The game Steph Curry got hurt. Boston, in Boston, you lose in overtime where you controlled most of that basketball game. So the 11 wins. All right, again, Fitz said it yesterday. I don't want to hear anything about the regular season anymore. I believe this team will be able to turn it up on the road, up in Sacramento. I'm eager to see how many Warrior fans are up there. But I'm the road record to me, when you have this core, it doesn't mean anything to me when you get to this point.
let's have the realistic conversation. And I've been kind of waiting all week for this because everyone, the regular season. If I were a Kings fan or media, like that's all you like the regular season. Like, yeah, like you finally had a great regular season and you qualified for the playoffs. I would be holding the regular season up high as well. I'm not dismissing that. I'm telling you, you have to look at it through the lens of the Warriors. They're on the last leg of their dynasty. Whether it's going to last a week or another couple years, we don't know. Time will tell. When they won 73 games and they exerted all that energy, and they went tooth and nail with one of the greatest regular seasons we've ever seen. This team, with that guy, Steph Curry, with Draymond Green, with Klay Thompson, a unanimous MVP season, record-breaking year on a variety of levels, with a Defensive Player of the Year for Draymond Green. It all went moot because they didn't win the championship in Game 7, even though they were tied with 2 minutes to go. Everything that they accomplished in the regular season was considered crap.
Right.
And basically inauthentic because they didn't stamp the championship. So, knowing that, it's not like another generation. It's not like another team. Those guys were told by everyone across, whether it's their own players in the league, whether it's former players in the league, whether it's people covering the league, whether it's the fan bases that they're encountering on the road. Regular season means nothing. Okay? So you can't say that regular season meant absolutely nothing and then expect this team to care throughout the regular season. Now, they had to care enough to qualify for the playoffs and put themselves in a position and all that, yada, yada, yada. But if there's ever an excuse to be made for three guys and one organization to say that, the regular season means nothing to us, it's those three guys.
No doubt.
Can we understand that?
I'm glad that you understand it. I'm glad.
And I don't dismiss Kings fans for holding the regular season high.
And
I don't dismiss that.
That's one thing they got to hold on to. We were the better team in the regular season. You were.
You
played better basketball. You were more consistent. You played a better brand of basketball. You didn't turn the ball over. The Warriors sleptwalk. But again, I heard this when Kevin Durant was on the team. They won 58 games. They really didn't even play that well in the regular season. And Steve Kerr said it then. He said it last year. A lot of these players said it last year. Home court doesn't matter to us.
No.
Seeding doesn't matter to us. We just want to qualify for the top 6.
They lost
and see where we
game
stack things up. Well, the NBA Finals.
In the NBA Finals. NBA Finals. They lost game 1 at home.
But they've said this over the last 5 years. It doesn't matter what seed we are. We're just trying to make sure we're healthy and we qualify for the tournament and we feel good that there's not a team in the NBA that could beat us 4 times in 7 games. And so the same logic applies now, but for some reason this year, we made the regular season a big deal. Made it a big deal. I like, for me.
You know why?
Why?
Well, I'll tell you why.
Which is crazy to me because the West was mediocre this year.
I agree. No, the Kings had a great year. We were only 4-game difference. Right? Which isn't a lot. So I look at it this way. You know why it's a big deal? Because in years past, I could at least point to 2-week stretches, 3-week stretches where I was like, oh, well, that resembles the playoff team that I'm accustomed to seeing. Right? And I just haven't seen that this year. Can they flip the switch, get it together, like pick your analogy? Of course. Of course they can. Can it sustain where they're actually not that good and really they are a team that's hovering around 500 and they get bounced by the Kings? Yeah, that could happen too. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know why? Because they've earned it.
They've earned it.
And if any team has earned benefit of the doubt, I think it's these guys. Well,